What is good? What is good, everyone? It is your old pal Davin here with Vivro and Foodservice Unfiltered. Been away this summer. Before I get started, I wanted to thank everyone during my summer hiatus, everyone from my community to my company at Vivro, the industry that we have, for being absolute support during this. I would say my summer hiatus. That's the best way to describe it, and really thrilled to be back with Foodservice Unfiltered. For those of you that have not tuned in before, here at Foodservice Unfiltered, we look to find out what is behind people's stories, where they are as they achieve within this industry. We're always interested in the why. How we're going to get there, we absolutely have no idea. This is meant to be conversational. So therein lies the joy and the excitement of it all as we get to do it. So I thought it, given my summer fitting, I'm absolutely thrilled about my first guest, and I'm going to bring her onto the stage, and I'm going to keep talking about her. So my first guest, her name is DeeDee Mehren, and it should be known, I've not only known her most of my adult life, I've known her like most of my life. And during this summer, she has been an integral part of, I would say, the healing and the health that we have. So, DeeDee, I'm going to do my best to describe what you do, and you can correct me if that's okay. I even wrote it down for us here. So, DeeDee Mehren of Feed MBS Nutrition, Feed Mind, Body, Soul. I always want to say spirit, but you always correct me. DeeDee is an author, a speaker, a life coach, a mother, a daughter, a global trekker. She's a sage. She is passionate, kind soul, and she's also one of my favorite people to go on walks with. DeeDee, in her day job, is working for her own company, Feed MBS, which supports her community by incorporating the whole self through nutrition, meditation, movement, intention, and growth. Did I get that
Nailed
right?
it. Nailed
Okay,
it.
perfect.
For
Well,
sure.
DeeDee, yeah, DeeDee, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, this just cracks me up if I'm thinking about our 14 and 15-year-old selves,
Right.
kind of looking forward and being in this room, just cracking themselves up. And this is where we're at. So life is an unexpected journey, my friend. That's for sure.
It's so amazing, DeeDee. And it's right. Like, the joke is never lost on me and the levity of it, because, right, we've known each other since middle school, and without a lot of great stories and history, if you will.
Yes. And I've heard those stories numerous times. So,
Yes, you have. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of stories, DeeDee, and I've always been impressed by you, but especially impressed of how MBS came to light. And so I know the story. We have where MBS is today. I'd love to start just at your origin story. What brought you to MBS?
Well, it is really truly a pain to purpose story that so many of us have, and your summer is a very good example of that. But it was my purpose and pain started right after what should be and what was one of the most beautiful moments of my life. I gave birth to my first daughter at age 30. And she was born 8 weeks premature. So unexpected. I didn't know this. I just woke up one day, my water broke, and she came into the world. And everything is great. She's super happy, healthy, living her best life, pursuing her dreams. But shortly after she was born, obviously it was a stressful event. She was in the NICU for a month. And that, tense time. And I didn't really put two and two together. So it was kind of a long journey. But shortly after she got out of the NICU, I started experiencing all these symptoms that were just kind of crazy and random to me. It started with, I was working in the advertising world, a digital division of Leo Burnett at the time, very different than what I do now. And I started by experiencing a lot of what I now know as peripheral neuropathy. But back then, it was just intense burning in my extremities, mainly my feet. And then that's where it started. Then it moved to my hands, and then it would move to my face. And it was also visible. My hands and feet would swell. They'd turn red. To the point where this is like embarrassing, but I'm in client presentations. I can barely keep shoes on. Like, I had to, when I was out of a meeting, remove my shoes because the pain was pretty intense. So it was, so that's the beginning of this, literally what turned out to be a 9-year journey of seeing, I don't know how many doctors telling me different things that were going on with me. With, like from a dermatologist all up to an orthopedic surgeon. I did end up having surgery at one point because they told me I had intense tarsal tunnel and they wanted to relieve the nerve pathways. I did it in one foot. I had 25 staples put into my ankle. That was useless. It turns out 9 years later, with a simple blood test, it was confirmed that I had 4 autoimmune diseases. So I feel like today's medicine is a lot better. To go through that 9-year process and journey of multiple doctors, multiple diagnoses, even a faulty surgery wouldn't maybe happen today, because that blood test confirmed that I had rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, Sjogren's syndrome, and severe Raynaud phenomena. So 4 autoimmune diseases, all kind of interconnected. And I was given this sentence and told basically, these are uncurable. This is going to be your story. And here's a handful of medications, mostly immunosuppressants. And at that time, not only had my pain progressed from, the neuralgia, as I'll call it, but it was also developing into like what would be on and off severe fatigue, like muscle and joint pain, to the point where I couldn't lift my arm above here. It would be really painful and I couldn't really lift it up. And I would go into my doctor and say, what am I doing wrong? And they just, here's some more medication. And it was kind of this vicious cycle of, you're not doing anything wrong. You have these conditions. You're going to have to live with it. Meantime, I'm raising now 3 little girls, and the energy that takes. I had a very intense job myself in digital advertising and strategy. I was leader of a big team, actually. And then my husband had a even more intense job in terms of travel. He was gone all the time traveling. So we were living that high stress life. I'm also a type A personality. At the same time, I'm marathon training, triathlon training, in between bouts of not being able to move off the couch. And again, going to my doctor saying, what's wrong? And nothing. So that's kind of how it all began. And then one day, after literally, I had 5 bouts of severe pneumonia within 2 years. So severe to the point of pleurisy, where, your lung tissue is aggravated and you feel kind of like you're dying. I had this last bout of pneumonia about a month out of the Chicago Marathon that I was training for. So any normal person would be like, okay, I'm not running the Chicago Marathon. That's not how my brain works. It was, I'm going to get better and run the Chicago Marathon. I did. I got better. I ran the Chicago Marathon. I qualified for Boston. Again, like checking off the boxes of all the type A things I had to do. But after that, I went into my doctor and I said, what the hell is wrong with me? What about these pneumonias? Again, nothing could be done. I came home so frustrated. I started, doctor Googling, and I, put in can't lift arms above shoulders, muscle fatigue, all of these problems, inflammation. And it popped up that the tennis player Venus Williams was going through a treatment for Sjogren's syndrome, one of my autoimmune diseases out of the 4. And she had to drop out of the US Open because she could not lift her arm above her shoulder. So I was like, what? Here, I'm a tennis player, and I like idolized her. And so I was like, oh my God. So I started digging into what she was doing, and it said she was seeing a nutritionist. And this nutritionist had advised her to go gluten-free and dairy-free. And I think she was even vegan. Well, I was kind of vegan back in my 20s. It didn't go so well. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try going gluten-free. Here I am, a long distance runner. Like I had run several marathons by that, like over that 2-year time frame. I think I ran 5 marathons. And I decided overnight that I was going to go gluten-free. I lived on gluten. I mean, that was my food group because I was a runner. So it's pasta, bagels, anything, to get my energy levels up to do those long distance running. And so meanwhile, I'm down in the gluten. Overnight, I decided to stop. And within 2 weeks of being gluten-free, I could lift my arm all the way above my head.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, this is something. And so I just kept going and I stayed gluten-free, and I felt maybe like 50 to 75% better most of the time.
Yeah.
So that was my first clue that, here were these 9 years of giving away my agency, my health,
Wow.
and giving it
Yeah.
putting in the hands of, the experts, the doctors. And I'm not anything against Western medicine. It is obviously, as you know, vitally important.
Yep.
But I never in my mind thought I could control the situation. And so that was my first like tipping point where I was like, maybe it is something I'm doing. Holy cow. And so I always thought I was a super healthy person, actually, an athlete. I always
Yep.
loved health and wellness. But I guess this is another blessing that happened was my husband came to me and said, we have to move. We have to do an expat assignment for my company. And I was kind of devastated. But he's like, it's going to be an adventure. We're probably going to go to Europe, and you can help, And so anyway, so he got me all excited about this European opportunity. He comes home one day and I go anywhere but Canada. Guess where? We're in Toronto, Canada.
Yeah, I remember.
So that was, the situation. And at the point I was like, kind of like really saddened also because I'm not a cold weather person. I was upset that it wasn't warmer. I'm upset it's not an adventure. At the same time, my mom was rather ill and I was like, well, it's close and I can get home very quickly and we can keep our house. And so there were a lot of goods and bads. But while we had to have this move to Canada from 2012 to 2015. It was a 3-year assignment. I quit my job. And while there, I decided to go back to become a holistic nutritionist. Why? Only for myself. I did not intend to have it be a business.
Yep.
I didn't intend anything more than to help my family be healthy and whole. And my mom, again, as I mentioned, was ill at the time. And I thought maybe I could do something to help her as well. So that was my sole intention. And that was kind of what culminated in me reinventing myself when we moved to Canada was that initial glimpse of, owning my story just a little bit, enough to where I knew maybe I could make some changes in my health.
Well, indeed, I'm fascinated. I wrote it down. Like early on, you don't know what you don't know. So obviously, your first pull, if a doctor is saying, "Oh, it's this or that," and it's not, and you're still sick, of course, that's going to lead you to be like, am I losing my cotton picking mind?
Yeah.
I mean, but kudos to you. Like, and there's a reason why Feed is so successful because your origin story is one of servant leadership. It's for you, it's for your family, it's for your mother, etc. And I personally believe that's why it became and is so successful because you found your story and grounded in that and are now telling the story to other people that there's other ways to find health.
And at the time, I don't think my thought process was as such. Like, I think,
Right.
it's all retrospective, right? I went in, I knew I was passionate about changing my health and possibly my mom's. I did not know that it was my purpose to help other women. I didn't see that. I now know that that is exactly the story of my purpose. But it's just funny how you look back at your stories, and as I said, pain to purpose. I've used the term mess to message, and that is all because you have these things that you see at the moment, in the moment. A cancer diagnosis, as you well know, is just devastating at the moment, right? When I got that doctor report that I have 4 incurable diseases, I was like, and I have 3 little kids. What the hell am I going to do?
Life
And now I
gets
look
really
back
narrow.
at it. Yeah, I look back at it
quick.
now and I'm like, it's been 24 years since that initial symptom set on. And it's my biggest gift. I mean, not only is it, did it show me my purpose in this life? Yes, I was in advertising. I loved the job. I was in like a cool, hip advertising office. And I was surrounded by young, fun people, but I never felt it was my purpose. Like, it was a job, right? Something I went to. I mean, it was something that I got a paycheck for. And now I see, that I get to help women and make them feel better and possibly not go through the 9-year journey I went through. And I love, especially helping women with my similar story. Try and avoid some of the pitfalls that, now I have put in the time and effort overcome. So I still have markers for one autoimmune disease. I did cure myself of 3. So I no longer show positive for lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, or severe Raynaud's. I still have Sjogren's syndrome. And I have, if you do hear me clearing my throat quite a bit, I have something called alpha-1 antitrypsin, which is what my mom passed away from. And that is not autoimmune specifically. It is genetic. It is something where you don't, I feel it is kind of autoimmune because your body's not producing a protein that cleans your lung of mucus. And I was fine absolutely until my first bout with COVID. And since then I kind of have a chronic cough and a lung clearing issue. I feel absolutely fine. I don't have really any symptoms. My lung pulmonologist says I'm the absolute healthiest patient that she has. And I do attribute that to lifestyle factors because many people in my situation either have to do weekly infusions or, some have lung transplants or are much more dire situation. Whereas I manage just simply right now through supplementation and lifestyle.
Yeah. DeeDee, I was writing while you were talking, a couple things. I love pain to purpose. I use it. Am I going to wear it as a cloak or a cape? Like, am I going to cover up, say, poor me, or a cape like superhero? You talked about purpose a lot. It's my belief that people that are the most successful have a purpose well beyond what they're doing. You had a great job, great money as advertising, but it didn't fill that part. I know the answer, but I'm still going to ask it. Is purpose, will you be ultimately the most successful you can be with purpose as a grounding starting point from what you're doing?
I don't necessarily, I think before I knew what my purpose was, I felt a lot of pressure to feel what my purpose was. Like I feel like, it's kind of a loaded gun where you're like, okay, if you don't have a purpose, you're not going to be successful. I think people can be very successful at their careers.
Yep.
And not feel it's necessarily their purpose. I feel if they, if they approach it with the energy and enthusiasm of knowing they can do the best they can at what they're doing, they can have, a little side purpose of being, and this isn't a side purpose, but obviously my main purpose is being the best mother I can to my 3 girls. That is my true purpose. But I do that now through showing them what I'm capable of. I see that as a vessel. Whereas, I think there's so many people that are doing great work and great jobs, but maybe on the side, that's their 9 to 5. And then they come home and they do art, they create music, they have an amazing family, they go volunteer somewhere that truly fills their soul. So I wouldn't say your job needs to be your purpose by any stretch. I'm lucky. I do feel that I can kind of tackle both those things at the same time. But I do feel like, that word purpose can be kind of a loaded gun for people. So I'm very careful to say, I want you to, what I provide is the energy and enthusiasm to help you fill your purpose, and whatever that may be in the smallest corner of your world is keeping that little corner as happy and as healthy as you can be.
That's amazing, DeeDee. And you brought up a good point, because if I don't have purpose in my job, then I'm not happy. And I have purpose in what I do, so I love it, and I know you do. But that's a really good point. You can separate the two and find success. So to get back to feed a little bit, do you work with corporations? Do you work with groups on the corporate side of business? And if you do, could you give me maybe a 30,000 foot view of what you do with these corporate groups?
Yeah, on the corporate side, so I work both personal and corporate. So usually with the corporate side, I do a variety of different things. So I have a couple of programs, what I call signature programs, and one of them is 30 Days to Feeling Fabulous. So over the last 9 years, I believe I've run that every year. And of those 9 years, I've had a company doing it alongside my community, I think almost every year. I usually try and get one large company and then some smaller companies that do it within the group, but I set up a separate kind of program portal for them. So I do, this 30-day program. One of the same companies that has been with me for the last 5 years, Presence Marketing, because they're a natural food distributor, it kind of fits within them. So they would follow the meal plan. I would do daily videos for them, emails, all of that kind of thing, and help guide them into that, New Year's resolution in a healthy way. I wouldn't say my programs are what I'd call diet or anything like that, or a program. I'm trying to establish a lifestyle always.
Ah,
So that's one of the facets I work with them as I develop, programming for the company. Then I've also done, a few keynotes with companies and corporations and organizations. I've done like city workshops, 1-day workshops, 1-day cooking demonstrations, just one-off presentations. I've developed meal plans for companies to help get them started in knowing what healthy eating even looks like. And then within organizations, I've done personal one-on-one. So a company hired me to actually meet with certain individuals to kind of help them develop a program for these individuals that they wanted to see achieve their health goals. So it's kind of on an as needed basis. And I've worked with companies, Presence Marketing, I think has 500 employees, but then I'll work with like the city of Wheaton, which has, the fire and police department. I've worked with them several times too on developing, kind of corporate programs. So it kind of depends on the need of the organization.
well, and DeeDee, it's not just nutrition, although nutrition,
Yeah.
you told me early on, cancer, sugar loves cancer, and that's when I
Yeah.
stopped eat, well, not all the way, but for the most part, cut out sugar. But what I'm also hearing, DeeDee, is you're much more of saying you should eat this, because I know you don't tell people they should eat this,
Yeah.
but you incorporate more of, as you said, lifestyle, mindset, how you approach
Yeah.
food, I guess, or health. It's health, really.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, the word should is a tricky word, right? And I've been trying to
Yes.
eliminate it from my vocabulary because I'm definitely shoulding all the time. So I try and
Yep.
catch myself when I should be doing anything, right? But, if people were to come to me as a nutrition and say, is nutrition the most important thing? I would say it depends. As a nutritionist, it might surprise you, but I wouldn't say for myself, nutrition is not that important, but because that's what that comes to me second nature, right? So I've always viewed my business as, and this vision came to me like literally 10 years ago. I saw my company and I was trying to develop the mission and purpose statement and all those things. And I had this vision of my 4 pillars of health: nutrition, movement, stress, and sleep. I saw this underlying facet of community, which I think is essential to health.
Ah,
So those 4 pillars, nutrition, movement, stress, and sleep, if you flip that all upside down, it's like a table, right? With community on the top. And if you put anything on that table and one of those legs falls short, so you're eating all clean and green, you're exercising every day, you're sleeping, your 7 to 8 hours, but your stress is like, ugh, guess what all
through the
that food's
roof.
going to do? It's going to topple. And that's me. So I have the nutrition pretty much nailed. That's not an issue for me. I am a mover. I have no problem there. If I could go to sleep every night at 9:30, everyone knows I would. But
You
when it
would.
comes to stress, for some reason, my body, even though I'm not necessarily perceiving it all the time, loves to be stuck in that sympathetic nervous system. So there's 2
Ah,
states of your automatic nervous system, your sympathetic and your parasympathetic. Sympathetic, as people know, is the rest and digest. I mean, sympathetic is the fight or flight. Parasympathetic is rest and digest. For some reason, with chronic illness, your body kind of most people with chronic illness tend to get stuck in that fight or flight. So even if I'm not feeling stressed, my body is in a stress state, and trying to
yeah.
regulate that has been my work over the last year, like solely to try and get that nervous system more into the parasympathetic state. So again, my table, like the things I feel like I control are great, but that stress, I'm like this. So things are tending to fall off, and I feel that you cannot heal when your body is in that fight or flight state.
So,
So
DeeDee, you bring
it's
up a good point.
everything.
What do
Yeah.
you do then with the stress? Like, what? How do you manage your stress? Like, how do you do that?
Well, as I said, it's for me that is my number one focus right now. So, um I have been a meditator for, at least 10 years now. I mean, I love to meditate. I'd started off that I couldn't meditate for more than 30 seconds. So when people tell me they can't meditate, I'm always like, you never met me in my 40s. um, Now I can sit for an hour if people would let me. And That's my key. I do track my data. Like my Aura Ring tells me when I'm stressed and when I'm not. And it's very funny because half the time I'll look at it and it'll say, "You're stressed." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm just sitting here, or I'm having coffee with a friend. And how could
Interesting.
I possibly be stressed?" Like sometimes my body interprets excitement as stress. But then I go to meditate and all of a sudden it just does this nosedive down and it says relaxed. And so I try and incorporate meditation daily. I'm trying to incorporate more breathing. I have a morning routine. I've always had a morning routine. I try and walk outside in the sunshine every day, even on cloudy days. I'll try and get out. I journal. I have so many stress management tools in my toolkit, but yet I still haven't. I mean, this is where like you can't control everything. And I also have to learn to be
Yeah.
okay with that, that I'm kind of doing the best I
Ah,
can. And life will throw you, some curveballs. I had some major curveballs over the winter, last winter. And my body, I know, is still recovering from that. So I've been trying to take it, work a little bit easier. I've been trying to take my workouts a little bit easier. I've been trying to do a lot more meditation, a lot more kind of parasympathetic activities, at least one a day. But again, I'm a work in progress. I know that, I'm still recovering from a mold exposure this winter that took my body down quite a bit. So even when you think you're doing all the right things, you can't control everything. And kind of having that perspective of, this too shall pass. This is just part of the journey. What can I take away from the things that just happened to me is, I think, the biggest win for me. Whereas in the
yeah.
past, I might have thrown myself a pity party with all I had going on and kind of stayed at that party way too long. Now I am able to extract myself and give myself, not immediately, but pretty shortly after. I would say I've gotten so much better at being like, okay, what is this teaching me? Why was I sleeping on
Ah,
mold for 6 months, not knowing it? And, why did this happen to my family when, we're doing all the right things? I will say, okay, what did I learn? What did I learn from that? Why is this part of my journey? And take it in that context.
well, and it sounds like DeeDee, you're shifting to growth mindset, not poor me, why me. And I love what I heard you say of just giving yourself grace, because meditation and intention is a daily habit. Like you said, you can have the best laid intention plans, everything is good, and life may just present something to you that is not what you planned for, and like, now what do you do with that? So I think that's the beauty too, that we're not all we're not there to total enlightenment. I know you and I are both seeking, complete enlightenment, so we just, go
We're
into
gonna
the
be
universe.
yeah, Buddha by the tree for sure.
Totally, totally. Which is an amazing aspiration. I think, when we do yoga together with her husband Vic, and that's the reason I love yoga, because yoga for me is super, super hard, and I fall out 100 times a session of my
Mhm.
practice. But it's such a great reminder, like, okay, I fall out, let's get back up, fall out, get back up. And I'm hearing
Yep.
that too with you in your own work, that you may fall out or something may occur, but now what? What can I do with that and adjust it?
Yeah. I really think for me, that's why I said, like, I am probably the most consistent darn person anyone has
You
ever
are.
met in terms of I don't I fall out constantly, but I am always getting back on. I don't let myself fall out for long. So like with nutrition, I am not one that's an all or nothing person. I'm the only thing I say no to is gluten because I really just can't do it because I most likely am celiac. But for everything else, I will let, like I was traveling with my family, I'll have a couple bites of dessert, I'll have a glass of wine. I'm
Yep.
not an all or nothing person, but I'm always the next day getting up and doing the same old routine over again. I'm having my green smoothie, I'm having my green juice, I'm eating the whole foods, I'm prioritizing protein. I'm doing all the things. I've always been that person that isn't one of those people that's all or nothing. I am like steady Eddie. Same with movement. I can count on my two hands the number of times I have given up on a workout in the last 20 years. Like
Wow.
every day I need to move my body. I know that it manages my anxiety and my emotions. So and I'm not killing it anymore. I'm not going for those 20-mile runs. It could be a 2-mile walk, but I am getting out there for the 2-mile walk. So I have those things nailed. As I said, the things in my control. The sleep, when I am to my left to my own devices, I am in bed by 9:30. I have done my routine. As I said, the stress is my little downfall, but I truly feel that with everybody, it is those small things that we do consistently on a daily basis that are the foundations. They don't have to be huge, but you build those habits, you build up that kind of muscle every day. So like every day you're making that green smoothie with 30 grams of protein. And when I make a smoothie, I'm not talking about a sugar bomb smoothie. You've seen what's in my smoothies. It's chia, it's
I
flax,
have.
it's proteins, it's greens,
It's
it's
yummy.
cauliflower, it's cinnamon, like I'm pretty much just got all of that fundamentals nailed, and it's a part of my daily practice, a non-negotiable because I connect so much with how I feel and how I perform on a daily basis. And trying to get people to just stay the course and not give up on themselves, because those people that tell themselves the story of I'm no good, I don't stay on a plan, I'm going to always fall back into my old habits. It's just a story. It really
That's
just is a
ego.
story that we're telling ourselves.
That's your ego, like
Mm.
waking up and saying you're not good enough, you're not smart enough. I sound like Stuart Smalley, but it
Yeah.
really is your ego saying, okay, you didn't do this, but I did these 25 other things that are completely amazing. It Yeah. Oh, DeeDee, that's amazing. And just being real in the moment of doing your best. And if I just keep going back to grace, like if you give yourself grace, um, you can have success. And as you were talking too, and when I was younger, I used to think like enlightenment is going to be this like lightning bolt from the skies that'll hit me and it'll be aha. As I've gotten older, it's the little thing. It's going on
Oh,
walks.
100%.
It's you saying, "Hey, dude, cancer, sugar, they're bed partners. Stop taking sugar." Like it was a little
Hmm.
comment like that can actually shift everything. So it's amazing, DeeDee.
Yeah, and I would agree with you also on the little things. As you get older, don't you realize just it is never the lightning moments. I mean, I've had a few lightning moments for sure, like
Yeah,
mystical moments where you see the other side and you know how thin that veil is. But that's, again, less than a handful. It's really like my favorite thing in the world is to go for walks with people because
yeah,
it's when you can be raw, unfiltered, and really connect with somebody on a soul level. My absolute favorite thing. It's not the, major trips. It's not the, fancy dinners. It is like going on a walk with somebody on a beautiful day where our souls are open and you're connecting at a human level. And doing those little things on a consistent basis. That's why I try and walk almost every single day. Because even if it isn't with another individual, last night, every night I trying to go on a walk, with my dog, and I always do it unplugged. So no headphones, no music, no
ah,
anything. I'm listening to the birds. I'm watching the sky. I'm, just enjoying his company, and that's it. And that's as all it needs to be, right? It doesn't need to be anything more than that.
it's amazing. Wow. Well, I know we've talked about it, DeeDee, but um, why would that be important for other people? You just talked about of unplugging because everybody knows that we're dialed in. Like
Mhm.
what happens if people are too dialed into their phone or the immediate the dopamine from someplace
Yeah.
other than the outside world?
Yeah. And I'm just as guilty as anyone else. Like I
Sure.
fall into that pattern. I am, and the doing. I am so guilty of focusing on the doing and thinking that that's my identity. And knowing that is my downfall. I also have that 30,000 foot perspective of knowing that's my downfall and knowing that's my tendency. So I make strict rules in terms of what I do. So like this summer, I took 6 weeks off of social media, um, and all media, actually, like nothing. It was the best 6 weeks. My stress went down so much. I didn't work much either. So I have to admit that not everyone can do that. And I'm privileged to be able to say, okay, for 6 weeks, I'm going to take this time. I told myself I was, going to have a teacher schedule this summer and not really work and just be present. And it was amazing. You don't realize how much, like even waiting in lines, like I wouldn't pull out my phone. I would just sit and stare. People probably thought I was some weirdo, you know, like not pulling out my phone. Um, it truly like taught me. And ever since I've gotten back on, it is hard when you're an entrepreneur and have a business
Right.
of literally one person to do that for long. So credit to everyone that has to do that. I mean, it's just, but I'm like, okay, so I need to get back on because I'm running a detox program. I've got to start working again. And, but since then, I really have a hard time forcing myself to open up a social media app. Like I just don't want to do it.
Right.
Um, I know it impacts my business and I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Again, some people don't have that luxury, but I do feel that for everybody, if we could even just take 24 hours a week and like for myself, it's always been Sundays, usually that I just don't open the social media app or media app at all, so I can be fully present. Um, and just realize how much we are, you know, out of the moment. That completely takes you out of the little moments and out of those special times. When I was walking last night, I was just so appreciating that we still have, you know, a few glimmers of daylight after dinner and looking at the sky and like appreciating watching people in the park play frisbee golf and those little things, looking at every single leaf changing color. You know, when you're on a phone, even listening to a podcast, you're not doing that. And that's where you miss the magic because as we were just talking about, life's magic happens in those little moments.
Yep.
And when you're so engrossed on your phone or anything else, you're missing those little magical connections, even if it's just with your heart and yourself. I'm a head person, so trying to always feel what's in my heart is kind of hard for me.
Sure.
And that's you know, I have to make that effort. So I would just challenge everyone to just set aside, and you literally need to set aside the phone because if you're going to tell yourself, like, I'm just not going to be on and it's right next to you, you're going to pick it up. So, like, literally putting it in the other room on a Sunday, turning it off or deleting the apps. My oldest daughter's amazing at that. She deletes her social media apps all the time, barely on social media. She's always been that way. And she's 24. I mean, most kids her
Wow.
age
Right.
are the opposite, right? I think, you know, she kind of missed that window of, you know, now my 18-year-old, it's like, that's all there is the phone. So it makes me a little sad for that generation. I'm hoping that they'll kind of have a backlash and realize that, you know, there's much more to life.
I'm smiling, DeeDee, like we could, whether it's God or spirit or whatever, give me a sign, but hold on, I want to listen to this podcast on Instagram first. And when I'm done after this
Yeah.
hour, then I want that aha moment. But I love what you're saying there of just unplugging because it is outside, meaning like it's earth, it's spirit, it's the moment. That's where like the true magic happens. And you were talking before too, like during treatment this summer, I would just, you know, I'd walk around town. So I too is like this guy just walking around Geneva, because that was part of my health journey and it was amazing. And like, I want to acknowledge you. You gave me, I don't even want to say the courage. You just by you being who you are, DeeDee, I was like, okay, yeah, like this story of, you know, I'm going to eat crappy food and not exercise. That used to be my shtick. That was my cloak. Like that was
Mhm.
like this caricature of who I am. And early on, you were one of the first people I called when, you know, the news came in. And because you were present and I was present, I was able to receive that and incorporate it. So I just want to thank you in front of God and all
Wow.
of our friends on the internet right now for that.
Well, I have to say you gave me a gift too, because I think we talked about it. First of all, we do have to be honest that I mean, this is how David and I communicated through sunrise pictures, which is my
Yeah.
literally favorite thing in the world is good sunrise. So we would he'd be on his morning walk. I would be meditating and journaling out on my porch and we'd shoot each other sunrise pictures, which was such a special thing for me all summer, to see you
Yeah.
out walking and out like, you know, as you said, like you didn't throw yourself a pity party. I mean, I'm sure there were days where you wanted to and you did a little bit,
Yeah.
but in general, you were out walking every day as going through treatment and you were out at 5:15 in the morning walking because you knew that was good for your health. You knew that was part of your healing journey. I mean, a year ago, would you have been doing that? No,
No, I,
right? I
I
mean,
I would have pulled a hamstring getting off the couch. Right?
yeah. So I mean, that just like made me so happy. Like that little spark of you being out there, walking the streets of Geneva, you know, getting healthy and realizing that your story that you were telling yourself had to change. I mean, how huge is that at age, in our 50s, that we can change our story every day? We don't have to
Oh,
live that story.
no, we don't, and that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it, DeeDee. And like this idea of to be small for the sake of others, or me believing that I need to be small or a caricature of myself so other people can be comfortable. Like that's my ego talking, saying, "Don't be big, don't be bright, don't be enlightened, because you're going to make other people feel ABC. Well, I don't have
Yeah.
control over how people feel. All I can control is how I am. So like this dynamic of stepping into it, and like I'll talk when I walk, and that is much for me to like get out in my brain into the universe. It's
Hmm.
usually around ego. Like my ego wakes up every morning like playing Megadeth, saying I'm type A, but not in the traditional sense. Like I'm a doer, and like my ego's like, you didn't do this, you're not healthy, you didn't work, blah blah blah. So I've stopped that, like that idea of like the ego guiding. So you took me
Yeah.
on a tangent there, DeeDee.
I know, but I think it's a necessary tangent, because we all fought that battle, and it's part of our journey. It's part of being human, right? I mean, there's no getting around it, because our ego's protecting us all the time. We just have to figure out what's serving and what's not in that in
Yeah,
that in that journey.
and I think finding people like DeeDee, like I I love you and you're a dear friend, but having somebody who is is able, and you and I both have a extended community through our friends, most of our high school friends, but to have those people that will meet you where you are and accept you where you are and love you, not blindly. They'll tell you when they'll be honest, but when you have that community, there's something
Yeah,
quite beautiful to like have those people that'll just show up and continue to show up for you.
100%. Absolutely.
Which brings me, this is just it's a little bit of a pivot. Anything bringing you joy these days, or like anything that you're super excited about? It could be a small thing. It could be something like aspirational that you're like, oh my God, this is super cool. Is anything?
Well, I would say, I separate personal from work. So on a personal front, what's bringing me joy these days is, my kids are at pivotal ages. I would say I have
Yeah,
24, 21, and 18, and all girls. And what brings me joy, as we were just together this weekend, we're not getting to get, we don't live in the same areas except for my 18-year-old, but all three girls are making just such lifetime decisions, and to see their paths unfolding before them. So,
wow.
my 24-year-old is a fully employed um, person, and has been for the last, I guess, few years. And she's living out her seventh grade dreams. I remember she came to me in seventh grade, and she was like, we were watching Homeland, and she's like, I want to be Carrie without the crazy from Homeland, like, in the CIA. And
She's
she
super
now,
smart, baby.
and
Yeah,
she now works for the State Department, and then travels to Africa. And like, so even with the government shutdown, which is a whole nother subject, so we're not going to go there.
right.
But my 21-year-old called me, I would say maybe 3 weeks ago. She calls me every day. It's a highlight of my day.
Yeah,
And it's always, she's my bubbly, dramatic one. And she calls always, and it's mom. Like, and so she picks up my day just with that,
yep,
theater spirit that she's always had. She told me, she's studying nursing. She
yeah,
told me about her day in the labor and delivery department, where she delivered two babies for the first day of, and I could hear in her voice
yeah,
this just visceral excitement and joy that I had, I mean, almost over the top. Like, I could just feel her energy coming through that phone. And I wanted to cry, because she said, and
yeah.
she was going to be a theater major. Like, she decided on nursing last minute. She's like, I know this is what I'm supposed to do. I know that this is my calling. And I knew it. And it just made me
Yeah.
so happy that she had found this thing that was making her so happy, and knowing that she was fulfilling her dreams. So that, and then my 18-year-old, who's applying to colleges right now, and finally kind of getting it in terms of, putting the work in and figuring things out on herself, putting in the applications without me on top of her every minute. and she's in part of a VEI business class, and telling me about like their projects and how she's really, I mean, really liking it and really engaged and finding kind of her, because she wants to be a business major. So the fact that all three of them, you know, are kind of, and again, this might all change, and but because life's a journey, right? But for now, just watching their little lives unfold is giving me so much joy. So that's on a personal front. And my husband also took a new job, so I should mention him, because he is the most steady Eddie person when it comes to work. And the fact that he still has the energy and drive to take on a new humongous challenge, you know, for me is, I stand in awe, because I'm like, I wouldn't have the energy to do what he's doing right now. But he does it without flinching, without ever considering anything negative. It's just who he is and always has been. So I think he's a great role model as far as that's concerned. So I kind of model after him in terms of like trying to be very stoic in terms of my approach to kind of certain situations. So on a personal front, you know, it was just great to have the whole family together this last weekend. On a business front, I would say I'm at a little bit of a liminal space. Like I feel that I, as an entrepreneur, I need to expand and grow to keep myself engaged. So I'm trying to switch things up. I'm trying to do things a little differently. I'm reconsidering my normal January program, which is always my signature program, doing that differently. I really am finding that I stopped doing one-on-ones, like, you know, seeing people like clients. I've started to do that a little bit again, because I had missed the true soul connection of helping somebody on their health journey. It's a very personal thing. So I'm doing that a little bit more. I do feel that 2026 is the year of my first retreat, hosting a retreat. So that kind of excites me. I really want to make that part of my platform as well. I've gone on many retreats and they can be life-changing for people. So I do feel like I want to make that part of my journey. I was writing a book. I put it on hold with AI, kind of made me question a few things. So that's something I'm kind of reconsidering. But yeah, kind of looking to reinvent a little bit, I would say, in 2026. 2025 was kind of a I'd say make it or break it, and it kind of broke me. So I feel like it was a, you know, broken to be reinvented kind of year.
Yeah. I mean, you had a 2025 for sure. Just side note, a couple things you said. I love the fact that as a parent, you know, you do your best. They don't have a playbook to be a parent. So I could hear it and see it in you, DeeDee, when your girls are starting to find their stride or something that brings them joy. Of course, that's going to bring them joy, because they're not only ones living at home. The other two are finding their way. So when they can find that stride or that excitement, of course, it's gonna hit you that way. It's like, oh my gosh, that's what you want for your kids, is
exactly
what makes them happy. Find somebody they love, do something they love, and be about love. I'm not familiar with her husband. I don't know that I've ever met. I'm kidding. I stood up in their wedding, so I've known them that long. And by the way, DeeDee, Stacy and Catherine from our class are typing in. So they're saying, great. Stacy said to stay off your device, and Catherine said walking her dog. Catherine and Stacy are great friends of ours. For our contract food service groups, Sedex, Airmark, Compass, Guggenheimer, Infuse Hospitality. If you're looking for a nutritionist, you didn't know I'm going to do this, reach out to me. I can get connected with DeeDee. She can absolutely help your teams around nutrition. This also goes to AHF if you're looking for somebody that knows her stuff. It's a shameless plug for you, DeeDee, but I've seen you work, and you've helped me personally too.
Thank you. It is something I feel like I'm a one-trick pony these days. Whenever I'm reading something and listening to something, trying something new, it is still, I'm still a health nerd all the time, constantly learning, I use myself as a guinea pig. People crack up, I'm traveling now with peptides and injecting myself in the stomach. And, I'm like, I'll try it. I research it. I'm not stupid. I do my research, but I am willing to try almost anything and everything to get rid of that last autoimmune marker and find a cure for alpha-1. So I am no doctor. I don't claim to be, but I feel like I can, do the best I can to make the moves.
Well, and I think because you start out like giving yourself grace and you have that routine of meditation or insight awareness, like you're many steps. I know you're not comparing yourself to others. You're putting in the work behind, which for me, watching you on this journey, that's the reason you're successful. And success isn't like the end game. Like you're successful because you put the work in. You put the 10,000 hours in, DeeDee, and it's amazing. And if you
Yeah.
can get through somebody like me who is hard-headed Swede, who's like, no, no, I'm eating tater tots and I'm going to be fat and happy my whole life. If you can get through to me, you could, like, I'm telling you, I'm a hard nut to crack. Few
Well,
people
I
have.
think when when the message is right for the person is
Yeah,
obviously you are ready to open yourself up and put in the work. I mean, you put in the work. I can't do the work for anybody. That's all I know with all my clients, and
yeah,
that's the people that I've lately I've been gravitating towards seeing is the people that I feel are ready
yeah,
to you have to be ready because you can't change anybody that's not ready.
yeah. That's it. I see my buddy Greg is on. Greg, you should reach out to DeeDee. I think she can support you and your group. DeeDee didn't know I was going to do that, but I'm going to do that.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. I love the harmless plugs. It's all good.
Yeah. So we're going to do two more things, DeeDee. We got about 10 minutes. We're going to do 7 questions here. Are you open to doing that? 7 questions.
I know you, Davin. I'm a little nervous, but
I would be nervous
I
too.
know in public you won't ask me the 7 questions you're going to ask me in private, so I'll say okay.
That is true. That is true. And it is it also true you are not familiar with these questions? I haven't shared these questions.
Yeah, I have no idea. You told me you were going to ask 7 questions, but that's
Okay.
it.
If you get all 7 questions right, DeeDee, there's going to be a prize at the end of it.
Oh,
This
you
is going to
you
feed
didn't
your.
tell me that. Now I
I
feel
did.
pressure. Now I
No,
feel
there's no
pressure.
pressure. See, I knew the type A would come up, so that's me just sprinkling that in there.
I wanted to do really well.
Okay, you will do well. Okay, for all the marbles, DeeDee, yoga or tennis? That's your first question.
Tennis.
Okay,
I love my tennis.
perfect meal for you.
Oh gosh, what breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Are we like
Breakfast.
a
Breakfast.
breakfast? I would have to say a smoothie bowl topped with fresh fruit and granola, at least 30 grams of protein, at least 20 grams of fiber, all the veggies. But that's what I do maybe 6 out of 7 days a week.
Okay, brilliant. Your favorite child? I'm kidding.
Depends on the day. Depends on the day.
All 3 are angels. We love them
All
equally.
3 are angels, and yeah, it depends on who's giving me the best
Yeah,
day.
you and Vic have done well. 3 words that describe you, DeeDee.
A seeker for sure right now on this journey. Compassionate and a constant learner.
Brilliant. Yeah. Favorite book or even article you're reading as of late?
What am I reading? I'm reading right now. I'm reading The Impersonal Life. That's a bit of a stretch for a favorite book. But I would say as far as my favorite book, what is it? I'm terrible with titles, but The Universal Life. It's well, it's a version of the Tao Te Ching that
Yep.
describes each daily lesson. I go back to that one all the time. But I guess the Tao Te Ching is just my favorite as far as kind of daily life lessons.
Go to. Okay, last one for all the marbles. DeeDee, your cheat food or your favorite indulgent food that you're like, like cheesecake or
Okay.
it could be a glass of wine, like any kind of indulgent.
Okay. Can I have three? Because
Of
I
course
like
you can.
coffee, wine, and chocolate. Hands down. I'm right now cutting back because I'm doing my group detox next week. So I'm decreasing my caffeine consumption, which always tends to really climb,
Yep.
especially this time of year. So I was up to probably three cups a day. I mean, it's all organic. Like I have all the fancy coffee and I do like freshly ground and all that stuff, but still my cortisol levels were not loving it. So
Right.
I am decreasing. I only drank like probably maybe a quarter cup of caffeinated coffee today. This is detox tea. But I love my coffee, just love it. And I don't necessarily think it's bad for people. I do think it's bad for me right now because my cortisol, my stress levels are high. So I need to
Yep.
bring it down. So case dependent, coffee, wine. I do love wine. It does, as a perimenopausal to menopausal woman, does not love me. So a good glass of red wine on a cold winter night, I do love. But if it's anything more than one, I will suffer the consequences. So it has
Sure.
to be reined in. And I have rules around that too. I have to be pretty disciplined. And then chocolate. Anyone that knows me, I have chocolate every single day. It may
Really?
be 88 to 92% dark, but I have it every single day. I know it boosts my serotonin, it boosts my mood. It's my way of telling myself I'm never depriving myself. I'm never saying
Ah,
never. I used to be a sweet addict, believe it or not. I grew up on the Little Debbie's and Dairy Queen. It's just, my mom didn't know better. That's just how we grew up. And so I grew up on sweets, and I have learned to love dark chocolate. So I will have that every day. Now, that said, I do still love a good dessert. I don't, as I said, I don't ever say like no. So like a flourless chocolate cake, a really good one. We had one this weekend in New York, and it was not good. So I was like, that sucks, when you're going
yep,
to actually do it. But yeah,
totally.
like a flourless chocolate cake would probably be right up there.
I love it. Well, DeeDee, I'm calculating um, all the questions. You got 7 out of 7, so way to go.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a
Yeah.
lot. That was a lot.
So we have about 7 minutes or so. Any questions you want to ask me that I don't know of? Anything you wanted to ask me?
Well, I just wanted to know a little bit more about your daily journey now that you've returned to normal life, and what that's like for you, because I know after going through something so profound,
Yep.
it's life changing, right? Like, and then coming back into your everyday life, it can almost be like, even though you're through the hard thing, almost be like, I think, rougher to start, and a little bit more trying to stay the path and stay focused when, now maybe the sport's gone away a little bit, right? The daily texts of people kind of rallying
Right.
around you and all that stuff. How do you keep positive, and how do you keep from living in fear of that next shoe dropping when, kind of now back to real life? Like, that stuff
Yeah.
was hard, but now real life can be even harder, I feel like.
Well, yeah. When I was sick, and by the way, my PET scan's not until November, so
Yeah.
I'm better. But like, people go on with their lives as they should, because it's their lives. So, and I can tell you, DeeDee, I've had days where I'm like, oh, I forgot everything I just learned during this time. Like, I'm back to ground zero. I forgot everything. So what I do, much like you, it's a daily discipline for me. Um, and sometimes even in bed, I will not get out until I can quiet my ego and I can focus on gratitude. So I will not leave bed until I can go 5, 10 things I'm grateful for. And it could be the fact that I'm just waking up. So I'm not even putting limit. It doesn't need to be grandiose. I'm grateful. It's my family. It's my friends. It's my health. What I found early on is I show gratitude for cancer. I was like, thank God I have cancer. Thank God, because it took the charge out for me. So after I do that gratitude thing, that little bit for me, I go downstairs, I meditate for 20 to 30 minutes. Um, I will read Buddhist passage. I will read the Daily Stoic. Thank you, Vic. I will read A Course in Miracles, and
That's
then I'll
another good
read
one.
something
Yeah.
from the Bible. Yeah, Course in
Yeah.
Miracles is amazing. Anybody that hasn't checked it out, check it out.
Yeah,
I will
I was
do
I was
that.
going to mention that
And
one,
then
but I always feel like you need a teacher for that one, like somebody to walk you
it's
through it
meaty.
almost. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I couldn't have done it on my own.
Now I got the daily passage, which is easier for me because it is so meaty, but that's like reframing your brain. And
Yeah,
gosh, DeeDee, I've fallen down since being back a lot. But in years past, I was the all or nothing, where I'd be like, oh God, I'm the worst. I told
yeah,
you couldn't keep it together. Where I'm now like, no, I'm just off today. And the second piece around that is, during that, people were so great about whether it's bringing food or reaching out. Um, and that's allowing that circle of gratitude. When you allow people to serve you or show up for you, that's huge. So I'm continuing to do that. I'll reach out to you or to Vic or any of our close friends, my friend Rob, Danielle, Steph, Shane, like, and say, I'm not in a good spot today. And they know the story, and just allowing people to show up and be there for you. Like, I found that, I, while it is ultimately my own journey, I can reach out to people if I need help, because I've already established that relationship where it really is give and take, where people I love and trust. who will show up for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
much like you. It's still writing. It's a story still being written.
It always will be. I mean, I think that's amazing to me that, the biggest lesson you've learned is like mood follows action, right? Like
Totally.
you just have to start. Like, so
Yep.
you wake up and you feel crappy and you've had a rough day. I know, I definitely have those days, and it doesn't matter. I'll still lace up my sneakers and go outside. I'll
Yeah.
still make the green smoothie. Like, I don't necessarily feel like it. But I know that when I do it, I will feel better after. So, mood follows
Yep.
action. So you always take the action, no matter whether you're feeling like, you're motivated. Motivation and willpower, I always tell people, are false gods, right? Like, they're
Yeah,
gonna,
man.
if you wait to be motivated, if you think you're gonna out willpower your desert island food that's in your pantry, you've got to be kidding yourself. No one is that strong. So you
Right.
take the action, right? And get rid of the stuff in your pantry that you don't want there. You'd lace up your sneakers and just say you're going to go for a 5-minute walk. And on a day where
Yeah.
you're feeling crappy, you just maybe reach out, like you said, reach out to somebody that
Yeah.
will understand. So it's just
Yeah.
as simple as that. We can't give up on ourselves. We just can't.
Yeah, you're right. And the last piece around that I wanted to bring up, my friend Mike, who went through what I went through about a year and a half before I did, he goes, remember, your family, your son especially, is going to be watching you.
Oh, that's powerful for
And,
sure.
and he has kids that are Nate's age. And I was like, oh gosh. And it wasn't pressure. It was like, oh gosh, yeah.
No,
Like
yeah.
how I handle my business, how I handle moving forward. And so even during that, dude, I had days, and I still have days where I don't feel good. Um, and it's what, like you said, you lace up and you walk. And I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be real. And Nate will get that. And much like your daughters will have pulled the realness of you going through your own journey. That's what they're going to pick up on. That's why they have a safe place, just like Nate, to then expand and be who they want to be in life, because mom or dad are like, they're being authentic and real. So like, oh, I'm safe. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but like, it felt important
No.
for me to share that.
Yeah. No, it's truly what got me started in my own business, was wanting to show my daughters that I could reinvent myself at age. I
Yeah.
mean, I started at how old was I? 45 as a
Yep.
nutritionist. I wanted to show them that was all possible. Like,
Yeah.
nothing is written. And, you want to say you do it for me, which I probably did a bit too, but I really did want to show them that, their mom was tougher than life could
Yep.
be sometimes. So,
Amen. Well, we're getting close, Deed.
yeah.
I want to leave us with a quote and it's so funny we're talking about gratitude. This is just a quote that came up with a convo, but like it really ties into everything you said. I have to read it. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but it is the parent of others. So I think just having gratitude is an incredible way to go about life. DeeDee, I am so incredibly grateful for you. I'm grateful for your husband and your family and our extended community. I'm grateful you came on today. Like, thank you for knowledge bombing and spirit bombing everyone today. It was absolutely fabulous.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. I mean, as I said, our 14-year-old selves are giggling in the corner right here. So it's all good.
Look, they're adults if they only knew, but
They're
we won't tell
playing
them.
adults. So, all right.
We're not going to let them in on the secret. Well, DeeDee, you're the best. I love
All
you,
right.
and
Love you too, David.
we'll
All
see you
right.
soon. All right.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.